am in a great mood, too. I've had a day of revelry and jubilation as I celebrate Donald Trump's 100th day in office. I assume there'd be a big round of applause. No? We have, 100 days behind us and only 13 more 100 days to go. It's been an historic 100 days. Some would say prehistoric.
The authoritarian, the demagogue, it goes away when they go away, and he will go away. And we will, and they don't have anybody that's as charismatic as him. He's charismatic. There's no taking that away from him. He's a television star. He is. He's charismatic. I mean, I don't agree with him at all on anything, but,
Donald Trump has always thrived on spectacle, painting himself as the larger-than-life figure who can't be touched. But when comedy and Hollywood's sharpest wit collide, the spectacle turns against him. Jimmy Kimmel and George Clooney didn't just poke fun at Trump. They dismantled the entire performance with Kimmel's biting sarcasm and Clooney's cool precision. They stripped away the act to reveal a man not of power but of desperation. The mighty stage Trump built became the very set of his humiliation.
El Presidente took a trip down Cinco de Memory Lane today. He reposted this classic from 2016, Happy Cinco de Mayo. The best taco bowls are made in Trump Tower Grill. I love Hispanics. That was 9 years ago, and how far we've come. They were having a lot of fun with AI at the White House over the week. Did you see the picture of Trump as the Pope? On Friday, MAGA Teresa posted this photo of himself as the new Pope, Pope Banana Cream Pie.
Jimmy Kimmel and George Clooney didn't just roast Donald Trump. They turned his entire persona into a tragic parody of itself. For years, Trump has thrived on playing the strong man, the mogul who could outmaneuver anyone, the politician who defied all norms, but put him under the combined firepower of Kimmel's late-night mockery and Clooney's Hollywood charm. And suddenly, the emperor wasn't just exposed, he was made to look like a washed-up extra in his own badly written reality show.
It's difficult to give Trump's first 100 days a grade, but if I had to, I'd say it falls somewhere between F and U. And hey, don't get me wrong. I would say there have been some positives. Unfortunately, they've all been pregnancy tests for women who slept with Elon Musk, but there have been some positives. I mentioned last night that Trump's approval rating is the lowest of any president at this point.
Do you think Trumpism lasts beyond this term?
Don't think so. I think it'd be very hard to do it. Remember this. Donald Trump is a celebrity. That's what he is. I mean, he's got he has a star on Hollywood Boulevard. I don't have a star on Hollywood Boulevard. I'm not lobbying for one. I'm just saying,
It seems like an oversight, by the way.
Kimmel wasted no time carving into Trump's endless obsession with appearances. Here's a man who built a reputation on slapping his name in giant gold letters across buildings, airplanes, and even bottled water, yet has spent his political career whining about crowd sizes and television ratings. Kimmel's comedy thrives on pointing out the absurd. And Trump has been the gift that never stops giving. Every petty rant, every all-caps meltdown, every desperate plea for attention becomes an easy setup. When Kimmel put that behavior under spotlight, Trump's once imposing image shriveled into that of a needy entertainer begging the audience not to change the channel.
Eier Benedikt, Papst Johannes, zieh an meinem Finger. Es war eine bewegende Hommage an den kürzlich verstorbenen Papst Franziskus, einen Mann, der von Katholiken und anderen Menschen auf der ganzen Welt beliebt wurde. Ich muss sagen, ich wusste, dass das passieren würde. Ich habe es vorausgesagt. Als er zur Beerdigung ging, sah er all das Gold im Vatikan. Er dachte, ich könnte hier leben. Das fühlt sich für mich richtig an. Und während es sich von selbst versteht, dass das pseudo-christliche Marquess seinen kollektiven Schokoladenpudding verloren hätte, wenn Biden oder Obama oder ein anderer Demokrat dies getan hätte, war das nicht die Reaktion von Trump. Stattdessen war es, oh, er ist lustig.
Then Clooney stepped in with the dismantling that was more subtle but just as devastating. Unlike Trump, Clooney doesn't need to scream, demand, or inflate numbers to command attention. He just walks into a room and owns it. That's the contrast that hurt the most. Clooney is the embodiment of grace under pressure, while Trump is the embodiment of panic under scrutiny. The side-by-side comparison turns Trump's bravado into a cheap act, a man pretending to be a star while standing next to someone who genuinely is one. Clooney doesn't even have to try. His very existence undermines Trump's fantasy of power and glam.
He's a celebrity, and he's the president of the United States, and so he has been elected, duly elected. Fair deal. I'm not complaining about that. That's how it works. That's how this democracy works. But he's also a celebrity, and he is charming, and to the people who like him, they think he's funny. To a great many others, they don't. And so when he is finished, and he will be finished, they're going to have to go looking for someone who can deliver the message that he delivered with the same kind of...
What makes this pairing lethal is that it strips Trump of his favorite weapon, control of the narrative. For decades, Trump has thrived on being the loudest voice, the brashest character, the one who could bulldoze his way through bad press by creating an even bigger spectacle. But against Kimmel and Clooney, the spectacle was no longer his. It belonged to them. Kimmel's jabs tore through the theatrics, exposing every contradiction, while Clooney's calm precision left Trump looking like a man desperately trying to perform in a role he no longer remembers how to play.
Since they've been doing polls like this, at least 80 years, maybe 90 years, according to a nonpartisan research group, a majority of Americans, 52%, agreed Trump is a dangerous dictator whose power should be limited before he destroys American democracy. Yes, we really need to stop him before he becomes president.
The brilliance of Kimmel's roast lies in the way he takes Trump's own material and flips it on its head. Trump talks about being a winner. Kimmel points to the endless losing streak. From court cases to failed endorsements to the sheer inability to let go of the past. Trump claims loyalty. Kimmel highlights the revolving door of people who once stood by him but now won't touch his name. The punchlines work because they're not just jokes. They're reality. Stripped of Trump's spin and delivered with timing so sharp it stings. Clooney, on the other hand, uses understatement to deliver maximum impact. Where Trump shouts, Clooney smirks. Where Trump inflates, Clooney deflates. And in that juxtaposition, the myth of Trump as the ultimate alpha male falls apart. Clooney doesn't need gold towers or staged rallies. He has credibility, class, and universal respect. When he skewers Trump, it lands with the weight of authenticity. It's like watching a polished Oscar-winning actor walk into a high school drama production. The comparison is almost unfair. And yet Trump insists on putting himself in that position every time he craves attention.
Leute, Trump sagte natürlich, habe keine Ahnung, woher das Bild stamme und wisse nichts darüber, obwohl es auf seinem persönlichen Account gepostet hat. Und hier ist der Clou. Sicher, wollte nur alle, die ihn nicht mögen, wütend machen und lustig sein. Scheint es zu vergessen, ist der Präsident der Vereinigten Staaten. Sein Job sind keine wütend machenden Späße. Es ist mein Job. Ich weiß nicht, ich weiß, dass ein Dealmaker ist. Das ist mein Angebot. Lass den Papst in Ruhe, sonst zerstöre ich die Weltwirtschaft.
Clooney painted Trump as what he has always been, a man addicted to the spotlight but incapable of holding it without turning himself into a joke. The facade of strength, power, and inevitability crumbled once laughter became the soundtrack. And unlike political opponents who often treat Trump with kid gloves for fear of backlash, Kimmel and Clooney had no such hesitation. They laughed at him, exposed him, and left him stranded in the one place he fears most, irrelevance. Trump wasn't the political juggernaut he pretends to be. He was reduced to what has always been at his core, a performer in search of an audience, a man desperately clinging to applause that grows quieter with every act. The tragedy for Trump is that the show he's putting on no longer entertains. It embarrasses. And Kimmel and Clooney made sure the audience saw every crack in the act, leaving Trump not as a feared figure, but as the punchline to his own endless rerun. If Trump's world was already wobbling under the weight of ridicule, Clooney and Kimmel made sure it collapsed entirely, like a sand castle meeting the tide. Because that's the thing about Trump, his empire has always been sand, sculpted for appearance, but never for permanence. And when comedians and cultural figures decide to point it out, suddenly the cracks are no longer invisible. They're neon-lit billboards.
Trump is a big fan of yours, but he posted in July. Now, fake movie actor George Clooney is getting into the act. He's turned on Crooked Joe. What does Clooney know about anything? Should get out of politics and go back to television. Movies never really work for him.
I will if he does.
He doesn't know that movies are fake, does he?
I don't think so.
Kimmel didn't just highlight Trump's hypocrisy. He catalogued it like a man presenting exhibits at a trial. Here's the self-made billionaire who wouldn't exist without his father's checks. Here's the genius negotiator whose business history reads like a bankruptcy seminar. And here's the man of the people who spends more time golfing at private clubs than actually mingling with those very people he claims to champion. Every layer of the Trump myth was torn away until only the hollow shell remained. Meanwhile, Clooney brought his signature charm, but it was sharpened into a weapon. Clooney has played slick operators and suave leaders on screen, but here he was more of an undertaker, laying Trump's public persona to rest with surgical precision. He pointed to Trump's obsession with celebrity, noting how the man who wanted so badly to be accepted by Hollywood ended up being Hollywood's longest-running punchline. It's one thing to be mocked by political rivals. It's another to be mocked by the cultural gatekeepers Trump always sought approval from but never got.
Siamo emozionati, ho ricevuto un sacco di messaggi, chiamate e auguri da chiunque abbia il mio numero di telefono e, incredibilmente, abbiamo anche ricevuto delle belle parole dal presidente Trump.
Sono una coppia davvero bella, una coppia fantastica, credo. Il bambino è perfetto. Te lo farò sapere tra 21 anni, ma il bambino sta bene, quindi siamo felici di questo. Non vedo l'ora di vedere il bambino. Sì, non uscirai con lei tra 21 anni.
Trump not as a titan but as a tragedy. A man who wanted statues built in his honor but who instead has late-night sketches and parodies that outlive any policy he ever enacted. The very thing he craved, legacy, was reduced to the butt of a joke. And in a way, isn't that the cruelest ending for someone who wanted to be remembered as historic, to instead be remembered as hysterical? What Trump himself fears the most, that history won't take him seriously. Kimmel laughs at Trump's latest social media meltdown. Clooney steps in to point out that these meltdowns are the desperate cries of a man who knows the spotlight is slipping. The audience doesn't just laugh, they nod because deep down everyone sees it too. And let's not ignore the symbolism here. Kimmel, the late-night host, represents the modern jester. Someone whose job it is to call out the king's foolishness in a way that people understand.
President Trump called you a second-rate movie star.
That's true.
And a failed We were just saying that about you the other day, George.
Yeah, that's okay.
And a failed political pundit. You know, we're saying it in jest, but what was your reaction?
I don't care. I mean, I've known Donald Trump for a long time. You know, my job is not to please, the President of the United States. My job is to try to tell the truth when I can and when I have the opportunity.
And here's the thing, ridicule lingers. Political critiques fade. Scandals get replaced by new ones, but mockery sticks like glue. Just ask Richard Nixon, forever remembered with the phrase, "I'm not a crook." Or Dan Quayle, whose entire career is summed up by misspelling potato. For Trump, the sound bites aren't speeches or achievements. They're late-night jokes, impressions, and viral moments of mockery. Kimmel didn't just add to that pile. They cemented it further, making sure Trump's cultural obituary will be written in punchlines, not policies. By the end, the dynamic was almost cinematic. Trump's bluster unfolded like the villain's monologue in a movie that had gone on too long, full of recycled lines and overplayed drama. And then came the comedic counterpunch. Kimmel and Clooney delivered what felt like the final act. The rolling credits where the villain doesn't just lose, but trips over his own ego, collapsing under the weight of his self-made absurdity. The laughter that followed wasn't just directed at Trump himself. It was directed at the entire illusion he spent decades trying to sell. The illusion of grandeur, of unshakable competence, of inevitability. With just a mix of sharp wit and piercing truth, Clooney and Kimmel revealed that all it really takes is a little spotlight. And suddenly, the grand facade evaporates into smoke.